Hi, I'm Corinna from Patinosaurus. Welcome back to my channel. So it's almost Christmas time and I love being crafty around this time of year. So let's make a wreath.
You will need wire, pointy nose pliers, wire cutters, main fabric, contrast fabric, bow fabric and wadding. Using the main fabric, cut out 4 rectangles, the width of the fabric and 25 centimeters or 10 inches deep, and 2 rectangles with the same dimensions in the contrast fabric. Trim off the selvages. You should have 4 rectangles in the main fabric and 2 rectangles in the contrast fabric. Place the 2 contrast fabric rectangles together and pin the 2 short ends together. Take 2 of the main fabric rectangles and place them right sides together and pin the short ends together, then repeat for the other 2 pieces. Using a 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam, sew the short ends together. I like to add a back stitch at the start and end of each seam. Give the seams and each panel a quick press. Using a piece of cardboard, mark approximately 12 centimeters or 4 3/4 inches deep. Then using a glass, trace around to make a circle shape, touching the inside of the line you've just drawn. I like to offset the next one so that it's 3/4 of the way inside the line, and then the following one completely inside the line, and offset until you finish your template. Once you're happy with the shape that you've made, cut it out. Take the fabric rectangles and fold it along the long edge, matching the center seam, and pin it in place. Then pin along the rest of the cut edge. Then repeat for the other 2 rectangles. Using the cardboard template that you just made, place it on top of the fabric rectangle. Make sure the curved edge of the template is on the same side as the fabric pinned edge. Leave enough room on the curved edge for the seam allowance. Then, using a fabric marker or chalk, mark the curved edge of the template onto the fabric. Continue doing this the rest of the way along the fabric rectangle. Then repeat on the other 2 rectangles. If you need to add any more pins, now is the time to do it. I like to fold the rectangles up so I can just unfold them as I sew. Using a back stitch at the start and finish of the seam, sew along the curved lines that you've marked on the fabric. It doesn't have to be perfect, just follow as closely as possible. Then repeat for the other two rectangles. Now to trim along the curved edges. You can either use regular fabric shears or pinking shears, your choice. I'm trimming the fabric back to approximately 6 mils or 1/4 of an inch away from that seam that you've just sewn. Do this for all 3 rectangles. Time to turn the fabric rectangles out. You can either use a loop turner, a bodkin, or a safety pin, your choice. I find using a bodkin easiest, but that's just my preference. Once the bodkin is attached, slide it through the fabric gently until you get to the other side. It will involve bunching up the fabric and pulling it into the tunnel, and then sliding it down again and repeating the process until you're through to the other side. Once it's turned out the right way, gently pull out the curved edges. Repeat the process for the other 2 rectangles. Gently roll the seams between your fingers. This will help with pressing. And then give it a good press. Then repeat the process for the other 2 pieces. Time to sew a channel. On the folded edge side of the fabric panel, sew approximately 1.5 centimeters or 5/8 of an inch from the folded edge side, the entire way along the fabric panel. Start and finish the seam with a back tack. Then repeat for the other two fabric panels. I'm using wire that's 1.25mm diameter, and I've cut it to the length of approximately 130 centimeters or 51 1/8 of an inch long. Then I use my pointy nose pliers and I folded the edge of the wire back onto itself so it doesn't catch on the fabric. Thread the wire through the fabric channel, scrunching up the fabric as you go. All of the fabric is threaded through. Take the other end of the wire and thread it through that little wire loop, and then make your wreath the desired size. Fold the wire back onto itself. Cut the excess wire off with the wire cutters, and then using the pliers, squeeze the little loops together to hold it securely in place. I'm making 3 wire hoops, and I like to cut all the pieces of wire at the start. So now I'm using the piece of wire that I cut off the previous hoop and use that as a template to cut the other 2 pieces of wire to the same length. Then I repeat the process of the first hoop with the pieces of fabric being threaded through. Once you've done all 3 hoops with the fabric threaded onto them, place them off to the side. Using the bow fabric, cut a rectangle 60 centimeters or 23.5 inches long by 30 centimeters or 12 inches deep. Then another rectangle that's 80 centimeters or 31.5 inches long by 30 centimeters or 12 inches deep. Then another rectangle that's 20 centimeters or 8 inches long by 15 centimeters or 6 inches deep. Then lastly, a rectangle out of the wadding that's 60 centimeters or 23.5 inches wide by 13 centimeters or 5 inches deep. Take the bow piece and fold it in half with right sides together so that the long edges are touching, and then pin into place. Then do the same for the bow knot piece. Then take the bow tails piece and fold in half with the long edges touching as well, and pin into place. Measure 13 centimeters or approximately 5 inches from the short end along the pinned edge and mark. Repeat for the other side. Then using a ruler, connect the mark that you've just made to the corner where it's folded and mark a line. Repeat on the other side. Add in some extra pins along those two lines. You'll be sewing along that line and then halfway along the bow tails, leaving a gap and then repeating for the other side. Using a 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam, sew along the pinned edge of the bow piece, starting and finishing with a back tack. Then do the same for the bow knot piece. Take the bow tails piece and sew along the line that you just marked. Start the seam with a back tack. Then when you get to the cut edge, use a 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam. Then sew along until you're almost to the center of the tail piece, then back tack. Leave a gap and then continue sewing the other side. Trim off the excess fabric on both ends of the tails. Then clip the corners. Turn the tails out the right way. I like to use a chopstick to gently push out the corners of the tail. Turn the bow knot out the right way. Position it so that the seams are sitting right in the middle. Then do the same for the bow. Give all of the bow pieces a good press. Time to close the hole on the bow tail piece. I've just used a ladder stitch to close the hole. Take the bow piece and the bow wadding piece. Then insert the wadding into the bow piece. Then fold the piece in half with the short ends touching and making sure that the seam side is on the outside. Pin into place. Sew together using an approximate 1 centimetre or 3/8 of an inch seam. Start and finish the seam with a backtack. This part is optional. I've just finished the seam with my overlocker or serger. But you could finish it with a zigzag if you like, or just leave it raw. Turn the bow out so that the seams are inside. Place the seam join at the centre back, and then roughly 1/3 and 2/3 of the way down on the front, do 2 little pinch pleats. I held them in place with clips, or you could use pins if you don't have clips. For the back section, I've folded it roughly in thirds, just so it's hidden. Now to put it all together. Take the tail fabric, with the folded edges along the bottom, fold it in half so you get your center. Add 2 pinch pleats, roughly 1/3 and 2/3 down. Then angle the tails so that they're facing more on a 45-degree angle roughly. Then using a cable tie, place it at the very back. Place the tails on top, and then place the bow piece on top of the tails. Rearrange everything until you're happy with the placement. Then secure the cable tie. Before you completely tighten it, make sure everything's in the right position. When you're happy with how everything's sitting, move the cable tie join to the back of the bow and then give it a good tug to tighten in place. Time to put the whole wreath together. Place one of the main fabric wreath pieces on the bottom, contrast wreath in the middle, and a main fabric wreath on the top. I like to keep the fabric openings at the top. Then place the bow knot piece under all of the wreath pieces. Place the bow on top. Then wrap the knot piece around the bow and the wreath pieces. Fold the top edge of the knot piece. Flip it over. Then position it so that it's overlapping and creating a loop around the entire thing. When you're happy with the placement and tension on the knot, secure the sides with clips or pins. Flip it over and give it one last look to make sure that everything's in the right place. And then flip it back over. Hand stitch the knot closed. I'm just using a ladder stitch again. Using a section of the wire, create a loop by wrapping it around your fingers. Cut to the right length using the wire cutters. Twist the ends so that they link together but then fold back on themselves. Then using the pliers, make sure it's all secure by pressing it. Place the wire loop on the back of the bow so it's sitting over the top of the seam joint of the knot. Using a thicker thread, I've attached the loop to the bow by using a blanket stitch. The stitching goes approximately a third of the way around the wire loop so that the wire join is completely covered. Now you have a finished scrunchie wreath. If you make one, I'd love to see it, so please share it on social media and tag me at Patnosaurus. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe and follow along for more. See you next time!